There's a singular movie that has one-shotted an entire generation of traders, and you've probably heard of it. You probably watched it. It's called The Big Short. And the reason why it has one-shotted an entire generation of traders is because in the movie, the investors short the housing market. They short what is an economy that is programmed to go up, that is programmed to go higher, an American economy that relies on money printing and number go up and immigration and inflations of statistics, GDP growth. The economists worship GDP growth. And these investors shorted and they made billions of dollars. And nobody in the movie is more famous, more notorious than the one and only Michael Burry, played by Christian Bale. Christian Bale. Honestly, Christian Bale might be my favorite actor of all time. And he absolutely murders this performance. He murders it so hard that you forget that Michael Burry, the real Michael Burry, is a little bit nerdy, a little bit weird, autistic, not cool. I mean, respectfully, he is no Christian Bale, okay? He's no Christian Bale. That being said, he's become a famous investor. He hit the short of the housing market. He also hit the GME GameStop short squeeze in 2020. So he's a notorious and he loves utilizing his notoriety to make big trades, big swings, and really go for it. And today, in November 2025, he has used his ultimate. We don't know if he wasted his ult. We don't know if he wasted the ult yet, but he definitely used his ultimate. He took a big swing, and this is going to determine his aura in perpetuity forever. That swing that he took is a short on the sector of the economy that is driving the entire growth of the stock market. If you don't know, Mag 7 has been outperforming the rest of the NASDAQ in an insane way all year. The select few stocks that are seen as AI are inflated, they've pumped, they've gone up only, they're up multiple X's. There's obviously Nvidia, Google, Tesla. They're companies that are valued based off of potential AI growth. And Michael Burry's big swing is that these companies are going to go down. Let's look more into it because this is similar to the housing short that he took in 2008, where he said that the housing market, which was up only, would go down and he was laughed out of the room. Now it seems like he's taken a short position and everybody kind of agrees it's an AI bubble all of a sudden. So it's very interesting. Keep in mind, this guy isn't a billionaire. So he's made a $9.2 million bet for the right to collect $240 million when AI collapses. He wants a 25x from this short. 25x. A company like Palantir, which is the biggest defense contractor in the world, trades at 450x earnings. He's betting that it goes down to about 140x earnings, which is hilarious because it's still overvalued, but that's his big short, right? That's his big short 2.0. Nvidia is another short. Nvidia is actually the reason he took this short position. Nvidia has priced in their chips becoming obsolete over the course of 10 years. Michael Burry believes they are investing in data centers that don't depreciate every 10 years. Allegedly, they are depreciating and becoming obsolete every 36 months. So he's alleging that Nvidia, the number one chip manufacturer in the world, that the entire world depends on for AI, he alleges that Nvidia is effectively cooking the books in a way that is overinflating their profits and underinflating their costs. He believes that Nvidia will shortly have to invest in new chips for new data centers and that it'll cost them a fuck ton of money in a couple years. He believes that the entire AI sector is hiding $170 billion in incorrect accounting. And so the $200 billion that big tech is spending on AI infrastructure every year is $200 billion of infrastructure that he believes will be obsolete in 3 years because the chips are getting updated so quickly and they're burning out and they're becoming unusable because they're being burnt to a crisp. They're being overused. They're becoming obsolete. And so Michael Burry placed his $9 million of shorts and he closed his firm, closed his fund. He's silent. He's disappeared. He's just holding the puts. This is his big short, and it has caused an absolute fucking frenzy in the stock market because as soon as he placed his puts, these stocks are dumping. Palantir down 17% 2 weeks after Michael Burry publicly went bearish on AI. Nvidia down 10% since Michael Burry publicly went bearish on AI. Is this a self-fulfilling prophecy? Perhaps. A lot of people think that Michael Burry's public short has placed into the zeitgeist the idea that AI companies are cooking their books, and it's freaking a lot of people out. And in a way, it's perfect timing because when stocks are over pumped and overinflated, that is the ripest situation for them to dump and decrease. So he perfectly timed this short. All of a sudden, every investor is wondering, is Michael Burry right? Okay, if there's a 10% chance he's right, then you have to price that in. If there's a 10% chance that it's overinflated by 3x, you have to price that in, and all of a sudden, the stock is down 50%. You're pricing in, and you're hedging all of these different scenarios, and one of them being that the AI companies are lying or severely incorrect about their cost structures in the next decade. So yes, it is a self-fulfilling prophecy. And yes, every investor's mind, in the back of their mind, they're thinking, fuck, is Michael Burry correct one more time in a big way in the biggest bubble since the housing market bubble 2007? And you look at other investors, there's confluence. If you don't know what confluence is, it's agreement amongst big traders. These traders have confluence, they have agreement, they're seeing the same thing in a sense. Peter Thiel has sold his entire stake in NVIDIA. He sold 76% of his Tesla shares. And Peter Thiel famously is one of the best investors of all time. He's one of the best analyzers of the economy in history. Part of the PayPal mafia, early investor in Tesla, Facebook. It goes on and on. People who have been successful time and time again are now questioning if the AI bubble is overinflated. Cooked. This might be cooked. This might be cooked. And if you want to bet against the stock market, if you want to bet that NVIDIA is in the gutter, if you want to bet on the Big Short and tail Michael Burry, you can do it on Robinhood. Right below it, you can also bet on the Georgia Bulldogs versus the Auburn fucking whatever Auburn is. You can go on Robinhood and you can say, I'm shorting NVIDIA and I'm betting on women's wrestling. I'm betting on Valentina Shevchenko over John Wade Koo in the UFC today. I'm going to scroll on my Robinhood app and today I'm going to short the stock market because we're in an AI bubble and fuck it. Let me parlay the Chiefs and the Patriots this weekend. It's alarming. It's a little bit alarming that you can just swing dollars around from betting on LeBron James's points over in his debut tonight against the Utah Jazz and the depreciation of NVIDIA microchips being 36 months instead of 10 years. Fuck it. Same difference. It's just betting on the truth in the future. And by the way, Luka is starting. Austin Reeves is in the lineup. He's going to have a lot of playmaking around him. LeBron might, he might overperform in his debut. Sciatica isn't even a real injury anyways. Also, the stock market's going to collapse and NVIDIA is cooking their books and everything's finished. We're all going to go to zero. Bitcoin is in the gutter and everything is over. Zohran Mamdani is president. They're going to distribute a fucking collapsing economy's wealth into the hands of people who hate you. But how about Wemby's calf injury? What's the over-under on games he misses? Is he going to be eligible for All-NBA this season? Fuck it. Let me put 300 bandos on that shit. Have you seen Jokic's stats? He's shooting 78% from 2 this season. Also, what's the deal with Michael Burry? Like, fuck. Oh my God, the economy is just in a ridiculous place. I can't remember it being this silly, honestly. Maybe Bored Ape season? Bored Ape season, maybe? Was the Bored Ape season like this crazy? Bored Apes were worth $400,000. They were getting $200,000 airdrops, all that shit. And I just want to point out, by the way, going back to Michael Burry, there's no reason to worship a guy like Michael Burry. Michael Burry's net worth is famously 100 million. Michael Saylor's net worth is 9 billion. There's a lesson in there. If you're shorting everything, if you're a doomer, there's not a lot of money to be made. There is money to be made in progress, innovation, belief in oneself, and growth. That being said, I'm not the only person that is skeptical of Michael Burry's correctness. David Friedberg on the All In podcast discusses below. Let's watch this clip. It's a good one.
Schedule or the useful life. And I actually think Michael Burry's got this wrong. And so what Michael Burry's saying is that all of these hyperscalers have extended their depreciation schedule or the useful life of their data centers by roughly 2x, which cuts the operating costs in half when they report it in earnings. And so it's making their earnings inflate. So he's claiming they're cooking the books. Google first made this change in Q1 of 21, where they said the servers are now going from 3 to 4 years. The chart shows the combination of servers and networking equipment. Separately, in 2021, Google took networking equipment from 3 to 5 years. And then in 2023, they took it from 5 to 6 years. And so this is a result of this effort where they went in and did an analysis. So what happened? What happened in the data centers is that the data centers transitioned from being primarily data storage and data transfer systems, where you would use hard drives and RAM and memory to store data and then transmit it back out, to being data processing centers because of the AI boom. So as AI became more important in the data center, more of the dollars that are going into data centers were allocated towards chips from data storage, which initially was hard drives. And then suddenly when you put these processors in to process the data to do AI, AI, that's the majority of the spend and the majority of the energy is going towards the processors. I made some calls and I checked around with some other friends, and everyone says the same thing, that these 7 and 8-year-old TPUs and GPUs that are sitting in the data centers are still being used, and they're being used at 100% utilization. So that actually justifies and validates the depreciation schedule being much longer versus shorter.
I'm gonna be honest. Just watch that again. It's a whole lot of nothing, man. I'm not gonna lie, David Freeberg, that was not the most coherent reasoning. I'm not gonna lie, bro. It was not the most coherent reasoning, and he could easily be incorrect, because what if all of the data centers are still being used? What if one of them breaks tomorrow? You're betting on a 10-year depreciation schedule being accurate? That feels a bit risky. That feels a little bit risky, man. And it's something that we won't know is true until it's happening. Base16Z had a take. This is one of the smartest accounts on Twitter. He's a shit poster, but once in a while he has a stroke of brilliance. Either the depreciation schedule is off, or NVIDIA accelerating their new chip timelines and projections is off. No? Can't have both unless you make some uncapped compute case where the consumer math gets tough. His point is, there's only so many chips that you need. Either the depreciation is depreciating and everybody's going to need to use these chips for longer, or the chips are dying and NVIDIA's projections of growth are off. He's saying you can't have the level of growth that NVIDIA is projecting if the depreciation isn't happening. But the real point is, the fact that this conversation keeps picking up in volume also is just not great. Even the possibility of a short opportunity, even a possibility that NVIDIA is cooking their books, can tank the markets. And that's the point that I want to highlight. That's what's going on now. If Michael Burry is right, we're going to see a severe decline in the American economy.